Chapter 5. The Spiritual End. Every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. This is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world. Ye are saved, unless ye have believed in vain. The end. It is the constitute completion of all live and engaging rules, laws, equations, and consequences, as brought to their finite, eventual, conclusion, respectful, of every process, thing, event, or personality. There is the end of all things. There is the end of the matter at hand. There is the end of man. The end of existence, as we know it. All things that are not eternal have an end. Every force inside existence is carried by momentum or truth, exists by law or manipulation, is held, suspended, and observable for only the time of its stability. Everything has a limit, a dying out of its current, where the energy that made it strong fades into some weaker state, is changed entirely, or abruptly ended by another, all of which can be seen in the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of nations, and the absorption of citizenship. The end is guaranteed. From the beginning, all things travel their paths. Energies, fanned out, molecular and biological realities assert themselves, until they become too weak to continue, or they break. Once broken, the effect is perpetual, and outside forces, such as weather, or temperature, or gravity will wear at the weaknesses, until the whole is gone. A mountain springs into the air. It defies all resistance, for a time, in its youth. Then, it ages. It doesn't know where, it doesn't know when, it just happens. And the mountain can no longer resist the forces surrounding it. The cold is colder. The heat is hotter. The days and the nights are all longer. And its surface breaks apart. Rocks fall from it every day. It grows thinner and thinner. And the strength of gravity grows stranger and stronger. There is nothing in creation that does not have its day. All will come to its end. Country, leader, dictator, families, nations, kingdoms, life, all end. They start so powerful. They feel invulnerable. They all die, paranoid and lost. It is an absolute mystery that there is a beginning to anything, since it must all fade and fall and die and go away. It is therefore a mystery that it exists at all. The end of human existence, respectful consideration of truth, will reveal the following: that no prophecy is needed, no act of God's wrath is required. Man is finished, if God cares for them or not. Hate is the end of man. Jealousy is the end of man. Paranoia is the end of man. Apathy is the end of man. Carelessness is the end of man, because these are all perpetual forces, opportunistic even, that conscious or unconscious, the human race channels into manifest destruction. They are not merely a ripple, not merely a force that goes forth from a single individual, with a singular effect, upon a singular area of determination. They are addictive, subtle, controlling, hypnotic forces, that persuade youth and legions alike. No riot, no cause, no assembling of people, in government or general, can occur without a drawing force, nor can it end without a discipleship-like understanding, rooted, in the least, in background processes of thought, reason, and expectancy. No nation builds an army, except it believes it needs one. No nation designs, improves, and builds weapons of any kind, that does not intend for its people to use them. No nation creates atomic weaponry, that does not intend to use it. No nation designs its defense, except it is secure in its mind that it will have to defend itself. All intend, all conclude, all contend. No declaration of one world institution, government, or council, can be created, except those who have sponsored the membership intend on the execution of such a power. These exist in the open display of all nations, ready, declared, sponsored, and as set, as all the armies, bombs, and weapons of the nations. Countdown. Man is an ignorant fool, never knowing, always blind, never seeing, always conquered, never aware, always captured. The eye cannot see the web. It is useless, feared, has no eye. It sees danger. Man is a fool, who is fooled. Fed today, he believes his masters will feed him tomorrow. This is his mind. He trusts in nothing that is true. He trusts in sensation, in visceral stimulation, in satiated ecstasy, in the comfort and pleasure of right now, letting fall, where it will, all else. Man has no interest, respect, or mindful engagement with truth. He is self, and selfish, with no deviation from what serves him. The end serves truth. It obeys truth. It is truth. Its pieces march with vile momentum and motive, but the map belongs to God, just as two, who become one, in any violation of holiness, invoke the law of God, so that the law of God has created their child. Nothing falls except it is made to fall. The law always applies. The equations of truth run their mathematical course like mechanical synchronous gears in advancing orbit, within the clock of reality. What is set. What is yet, is all that remains. In this, man is not aware. Yet, he knows. His conscience convicts him, because the law has spoken to all things. What shall happen? I am God, and there is none else. I am God, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Isaiah 46, 9, 10. Man is not a single species, but many, the poor, and the rich, the broken, and the well, the angry and the content, the beaten and the trodden, the fighters, the resistors, the ignorant, the leaders, the led. All these have been given to me. I give them to whom I will. The words of Satan to Jesus. Man is an agent of death, the catalyst of their own end. The end of human existence does not need plagues or wars or weapons. For all of human existence to come to a crashing end, needs for a single marriage to end. The entire structure of human society is built on the stable of family, and family, on marriage. Marriage is the institution, on which all other institutions are founded. The effect of a single broken marriage is the determined end of all human relationship, because all is built on marriage. Marriage is the standard of all love, commitment, truth, sacrifice, and earnest. It is the pinnacle of all truth, integrity, and stability, the sureness of all law, structure, and reality. God is married to all things, and by this, all law is entered into live presence, perseverance, and foundation. Once broke, the effect rips through humanity like lightning cuts air. Children lose parents. Parents remarry. Divorce becomes the medicinal remedy, the expected, ran to, solution, the perpetuated answer of all generations to follow. Remarriage becomes acceptable practice. Children learn, emulate, indoctrinate, and train themselves to embrace the rules of their parents, their society, and their freedoms. They learn to run away, to leave spouse, to leave child, to leave responsibility. Echoed, generation upon generation, the effects are devastating, promising the end of society. Eventually, society will outlaw marriage, seeing it as a meaningless formality that forbids absolute sexual freedom, and represses one's right to be free, loose, and unaccountable. With this arises the need to rid the world of any consequences. The legal obligation to terminate pregnancy, first, as recreational, free choice, after, as nationalized control of the population, because without structured families, the birth rate in all promiscuous countries will impact all health and welfare of the national organism. Mothers are the end. They forbid their holy office, left the home to itself, surrendered every child to world and Satan to raise and teach. They chased the world for vanity and venture, sought the role of their husband. No longer can a home have its mother. No longer shall a child know her name and the heartbeat of her love and guidance. No longer is her husband given his crown and role. It has been taken. He is aimless. The man is no more the laborer of the family. The mother, serving two roles falsely, is the provider, and has become the loveless figurehead of that woman called Eve. Mother is a creature that has exiled her children into the snares and sins of the pit of death. As Eve has done, so have the mothers after her. She has cursed child and family toward hell. Mothers are the singular guardian of the nations, their soul, their strength, and their dissolve. She is the wisdom, the love, and the patient care, that gives her children the knowledge of right, wrong, and honest judgment. She is the teacher of angels and devils, the inspiration of her child's entire lifetime. She is the blessing of the nation, the signpost, that points the heart to God, showing every child what is wise and holy, or else, she is an absolute terror, and the end of all that is right and holy. Mothers are the end of the nation, where it stops, and where it starts. She is Mary, mother of the Son of God, or she is Jezebel, the treacherous. Where there is a nation without mothers, there is a nation without a guide to God. These have neither empathy or love, the trademark of mothers. The womb of their heart is dried and dead. O mothers, know ye not that you are queens in the age to come, when the kingdom is inherited by the saints? How many your faithfulness would have been mother to, but how many sour generations the rebellious mothers let crawl into hell, unattended? Who has watched your children, if not you? Where is the mother of man? On earth, she has become a man. And what does that say of the man? Fathers are the end, church or home. Their role is sacred and same. They are the power of certainty, stability, security, truth, and standard. They guard the soul of their children with fervent heat and protection. They fear the child's corruption with great ferocity and attention. Fathers brand the heart with reverence and surety. There is nothing weak about a father. They serve their family, not their self, doing all that they do for the wellness of their family. They labor night and day, bleed and ache, praise God, and thank Him for everything He has given them the privilege to care for. Fathers go to the grave, happy, accomplished in all things, yet never finished. Several generations looking to them as that sacred standard and pillar of the family, the strength of its unity. Fathers are the end of it all. Son and daughter are abandoned by them. Families destroyed. Home has disappeared. Fathers have left their sacred office, and do not fear God upon their heart, or in the visitation of judgment. Fathers have corrupted the heart of their reason, the reason they exist, forsaken the sacredness of their being and its duty. They cower in a strange, alien selfishness, not at all their design. Self is all-consuming in their soul. They cannot fathom family. They cannot feel the bond of their children. They have become titled offspring only. Son and daughter mean nothing to them. They have become men, not men as God has created men. They are sissies, feminine, and free, soft, and cowardly, flapping their wings like the show bird. They are something not made by God. God made the heart of man in all its original strength and purpose. As man, as father, as leader, as pillar, as His own image, in His own like material of heart, in the spirit of His being. And He said, "It is good." Woman beguiled that man, that God made, and now, man has become as the woman. Judgment is the end. Judgment is the end of everything, because man and woman have no gauge for judgment, no affinity toward a live emphasis on a continuum of reality, perceived and accorded to, that carries on like a living thing, with the choices and problems we create. Judgment is the sacred response of the heart to everything that is associated with the being. With being comes judgment. From the practical, to the indirect, to the direct. Judgment is the might behind choice, the justice of sacrifice, the power that surges in the heart of all involved commitments, all invested heartstrings attached soul and fiber to the spirit of the thing. It is the labor of all that the heart wills beyond self, to do, maintain, or make sure of. Judgment is the divine chord of the being, in their inheritance from the eternal Father, as mindfulness, knowing details with sacred vested truths and interests, the difference in every action, word, and life. Judgment is the difference between saint and sin, between devil and angel, between wife and lover, between man and child, between wise and eager, between hard-hearted and protective. Judgment is the sacred responsibility of every sentient entity, of every family, of every nation, of every people, of every truth. The whole of man's influence on reality, good and bad, is based at the level of judgment. where judgment and selfishness are opposite forces working upon the heartstrings of the being, and creating his relationship with everything that is. A relationship, at the deepest of intimacies with reality. Selfishness is the lack of attention to anything except self's immediate want or desire. It is the void counsel of one's own lively judgment. Selfishness is man choosing by election to cast off the responsibility of judgment. It is his relative exchange with reality void of interest, investment, and attention, in the callous display of his heart, unable to feel reality with any compassion or empathy, and consequently, void of love for humanity, with all conscious antenna pointed to himself as the God and center of his being, whose pleasure and desire he or she worship and serve. Lack of judgment is the evident enthronement of a selfish entity, whose lack of care, lack of concern, lack of foresight and prevention have consecrated his lack of personal investment in the consequences and effects of his being. In this, the being has no fight, no applied wisdom, no heart, no conscious involvement, no goodwill. In all things, they disassociate feeling, caring only for themselves, and have no conscious, fluid regard of the state of things, where the state of all things is based in all equations upon the interactive forces of influence on the influential properties of reality. Man doesn't care. In other words, judgment begins in the heart. Judgment is a living, growing fire, a burning passion, a lit fuel, that has culminated silently in the child's beginning, but once awakened, it begins to burn, to grow strong and stronger, to sharpen hotter and hotter, to brand deeper and tighter, to sear brighter and bolder. It is the heart of the man, woke from its sleep, his entity, bearing the image of his father more clearly, the spirit of the progenitor more visible in the youthful features of the young man or lady's wisdom. It is the beginning of their own being, when they become their own nature. The heart is the beginning of judgment, and judgment is the beginning of the wisdom and the strength and the counsel of the heartstrings of the soul. And this is the mystery of all that is called marriage, and all that is called by association married because it is the bond of that heart with the thing it so purely loves, and this is the strings of its heart, sternly attached to the essence of this love. It is their love, their jealousy, their fight, their sworn constitution. It is the unspoken law of their being, riding upon the universal values of existence, their sacred law, their oath, their sworn in the living God, truth of who they are. Marriage is the essence of all heartstrings, and the fervent heat of all judgments, in either truth, or regard, in protection, or honor. Marriage is the companion of judgment. They are married, one to the other, and their child is their love. Hatred of marriage is the end. Humanity has lost all genuine, God-infused understanding of what marriage is, of what it represents, of what its entire spirit is the image of. In this, he mistakes the planes of reality for a single plane, and cannot see the invisible truths, the plane of laws and powers. He cannot see love or joy. He cannot see thought or feeling. He can only see flesh and wall, and in this, he has forsaken the spiritual and the sacred, and forbid them their holy place in reality. Why doesn't he believe in marriage? Because the selfishness of his parents has taught him this. Their ancient disregards plain humanity today. They have built the society of man upon lies, upon wrongs, upon greed and selfishness, always wanting, never giving, which is not stated to agree with man's proposed solutions. Society has taught him to forsake marriage. Its law has forced this counsel upon him. It is what has been trained into his judgment. He has been liberated from marriage, by being liberated from his responsibility to his wife, by being liberated from ever needing a wife. Society taught the child, and the child learned, and the child mastered their teaching. They understand the lesson, they understand the mechanics of their freedom, and they understand their right to fun. And generations later, not a single adult can see past the same wicked judgment. Not one can understand responsibility, or family, or sacred institution. Not one truly believes they are made by God, and meant to be one as husband and wife, and that God is in the heart of their marriage. They propagate, and agitate, this aggressive iniquity, because no one honors the sacredness of marriage. The devastation of the human continuum rests entirely on its destruction of the marriage. Its once fused line of children is now 4 and 5 lines from 4 and 5 different marriages. It has broken the sacred union of two, being one, in the holy blessing of God, of faithfully living their life in honor and love of God, building and striving together, in all the light of their unique family, under the watchful stars of the heavens, beneath curtain and light of God. They turn to divorce, because their hearts are so vile and impure that they can do nothing except hate the other with such bitter contempt, that they have to divorce, just to keep from murdering each other in their sleep. Where has the love of the pure conscience, and the true heart gone? It has slithered this way and that. For every selfish adventure and thing, there is no hope for man. Not on earth, not in the stars above, only in Jesus Christ. Sex is the end. Humanity built a culture. That culture worships sex. Every hour of the day, the world in full. Culture's the growth of deep-seated desires and wants and lusts for sexual satiation. It flirts, taunts, and pulls at everyone's sexual desire, with its every device and advertising power. It stares and broods, and the children are the true target. The younger they are, the deeper the influence, the more addictive the call of their curiosity. It is a natural effect that children will salivate with curiosity and longing for the experience they haven't yet had, and the media pushes their buttons, lures their fancy, and strings them along, the whole way to full-out pervert, with the promise that nothing is off limits, nothing is taboo, nothing is shameful or wrong, and everything is their candy cane. They punish men and young men, but encourage children. If boys and girls at 13 are sexually active with each other, they will be at 14, they will be at 15, they will be at 16, and in their experimentation they will only increase, because it has no ground. It is not married, so it is all an open-ended mystery to explore in any and all combinations. Sexual culture produces children who will grow up being children who do not see the age barriers that society institutes as legally justified, and in this, they will violate them as soon as they cross those barriers, as they have already, being in constant violation since their first experience, and merely in continuation of the biological pattern and behavior they have trained into their psyche and acceptance. It is now a global phenomena. The selfishness of the human race has cultured the molesters, by defining them, branding them, and letting loose the freedom of its youth, to legally become the illegal thing they hunt. They grew the weeds, encouraged their growth, and turned the head of judgment, saying, "We will prosecute them when they are old enough, when they have overrun our streets, and their own children are long on the way to follow in the footsteps of the parent creature." How is that a just judgment upon the world? Sexual culture refuses marriage. The heart knows the sacred institution of marriage. It is written into the fiber of every being. It is drawn to marriage. Boy and girl, male and female, man and women, are meant to be one, to be married, to work for everything they are, striving heart and soul together, to raise their family. It is their natural law, their natural state, and has been. Man cannot change that. He only creates a monstrous repercussion that cannot be solved by denying it, because in his refusal to let them marry and become men and women, they have become free to bounce from partner to partner, to tear a hole in the fabric of human society, to shame family and name, by their liberty to fornicate, their liberty to seek, their liberty to do as they please, with no inset bond to their family, electrically fortified in their heart. If the children having children had any conscious threat of responsibility, they'd fear the violation of such a sacred responsibility. If they knew that they had to raise their child for the rest of their young life, the world's population would stop growing at such an unbearable measure, and the sacred responsibility of every young man and young woman to their family would return to their hearts with fear and righteous trembling. Age of responsibility. Children, in their natural state, are children, but children, without respect or bounds of limitations, fall out of their natural state, and pass from child to young man or young woman, long before society has recognized their emotional maturity to match it. Preventable or inevitable is not the case of any argument. As there are far too many influences and villainous intentions in the world to compare with moral standards and logistics of goodwill, the matter is not the event, it's the soul dealing with it, the tortured soul, the confused heart, the shunned child no more, who society strips of dignity, clothes with shame, and helps on their way to hell unrecoverable, turning the blame on the child, that they made, forged, like blades in the hands of master craftsmen. Children should always be protected, never exploited, never abused, never taken advantage of, never forsaken, never mistreated, never abandoned, and guarded heart and soul by humanity. This is give or take with what the world has imposed upon them, with what it has taught them, with what it has expected of them, with what it has allowed, and with what the ages have done. Children are being deformed in their conscience, their judgment, and their maturity by the mass projection of every available influence to hinder their conscious maturing, and make them suggestive slaves to addictions and pleasures and selfish sympathies. The youthful course is supposed to complement the timing of the heart, when the heart has learned enough of everything to begin making sacred judgments in life, when it begins to transition from child to man, from daughter to wife and mother, when the heart awakens to the knowledge of working for something, which is not a statement nor argument that is meant to encourage their unwise behaviors, but a recognition of the failure of society as a whole, in its careless attention to the careless mindset of its youth toward sexual explorations and the unprepared expectancy of children in the womb. The body is not the measure of a man or a woman, not the age of accountability, not the legal age of any spiritual discernment, and not at all the point of anything sacred. It isn't the age, it's the heart. The heart is the conscious thoroughness of everything that matters really. The heart is the enemy of the world, because the heart has judgment, and judgment will judge, and if it will judge, then it will judge between natural and unnatural, between right and wrong, between what is wanted, and what is true, between true liberty, and suggestive trance. Now is the hour, and the prince of this world is judged. Culture debilitated the children, lulled them with false securities, packed them into classrooms that taught them nothing of ethics, morals, accountability, or principles, took its parents from them, and told the children to go do something, to spend all their waking hours on planet Earth, like wandering aimless sheep, and occupy themselves with whatever captivates their fancy. The options are very few, predictable even. What were the children to do? Surely, not be accountable. Is that fun? Age versus heart. Boys become men, by being men, by becoming the father and the husband, and working for it, working to be the man, by being the man. It isn't something they suddenly walk into at age 18, it's something they work for, labor for, by raising that child, by loving that wife, through hardship and pain, by earning the aches in their muscles, with the love in their heart for their family. Women are born to be women, to be the wife, to be the mother, to be the comfort of her young man, in his arduous struggle to be the man, and to be her man. She is meant to be the wife, to raise the family, to care for the home, to be the guiding light of her little home, where her heart is live, like gravity or star, in all her family, because in it, she is the queen of her husband, the queen of her children, the queen of their family's nest in the universe. The question of judgment is not the age, nor the individual, it's the matter of the family, their family, the two who wish to be one. This is contrary to society, because society is not built with any sacred regard to the family. It sees only male and female, and sexualizes their independent identity, never seeing the law of a bond, written in God. She is his, he is hers. They are branded upon each other's heart. There is nothing in earthly understanding like this. They are fused in soul and spirit. Their body is tagged with each other at a level unseen. It's marriage, the sacredness of marriage, not age, and in it is the patience of waiting, of reverently, God-honoring, waiting for each other, in the sacredness and soundness of virginity and chastity, in being purely given to your one and only, not pursuing the inexhaustible depths of sexual freedoms. The heart has unlearned marriage. It is not set and sealed, in the sacred heartstrings, to belong to husband or wife, to belong wholly, and exclusively to their family. Together in one family is the end. Family is not the consequential result of children born into the world and thrown into a household, but a household that is faithful to the understanding of belonging to the inseparable unity, and that unity is the greatest parable in all existence, from the marriage of the husband and the wife, to the inseparable spirit of the fruit of their love, their children. When family is a broken home, the children are cursed, and have lost all sense of union, all sense of purposed existence, all example of faithfulness and love, and all instilled sense of value, that would otherwise carry over into the formation of their own conscious understandings. Children who do not have parents that are faithful to each other, and to the family, lose the biggest advantage in life they could have had, as their entire conscious substructure must exercise the developmental lessons on their own, that their absentee parent should have provided, and if both parents are unavailable, then the process of mental, emotional, and practical stability become the constitute diligence of the natural senses of the child, in all their underdeveloped understanding, and inexperienced perceptions, so that ethics, morals, and problem-solving skills become their own response and requirement, with little to no help from the maturity of older generations. In this vacuum, the children raise themselves, and unfairly, they experience the deep aches of sexual want before they've ever mastered any sense of self or world, and without faithful virtues instilled in their hearts. Sex is only a natural course of action, so that no merit is given by adolescent thought to the pureness of virginity kept for marriage. Family is missing from the world, in more than one way. It is not only physically absent, it is spiritually void from humanity. There is nothing on earth so wonderful, powerful, and true as family, for which the Church itself, being equally instituted by the Spirit of God, has been modeled. Family is a bound force, a marriage of conscious entities, to each other, as belonging to the other, and all who are inside this precious union. So precious is this energy, that it has its own heart and spirit, and that is the life and the wonder of the family, and so perfectly pure and powerful, that if any member is no more among man, the whole heart has felt it, the whole spirit of their family has experienced it, and all know it with both individual thought and shared sensation. Humanity ripped every sacred purpose of family out from under them. Its selfishness has torn the heart and the spirit of the whole being to shreds. None can feel the bond of their family anymore. None belong. They are, but they are not. They have no family. Selfishness stripped it from them. Humanity has lost its family. They have only themselves, only their devices, and any form of stimulation, distraction, or temptation they can find. In this is the great mystery of all deviance, failure, and end, because humanity has given up its children. The children have no family. The beginning of man is family. The end of man is children, with no regard for anything, are the end, to the shame of common naivety, which is to say the world's opinion on the matter. Children for the last century have fiercely become sexual in all their experience, from social language, to clothing, to experimentation, and in their increasing intrigue and excitement, they act upon their desires. This exploration has led to an alarming rate of bisexuality, and greater sense of sexual confusion. What else is there? They have no values. They have no future, for all truth in the matter. They have nothing in life to live for, and nothing but time and desire to hold them here. They turn to sexual exploration with itching aches and the need for salvation, and having no lines to guide them, they go carefree into any experience. The most common performance of sex, in all the world, is that among the youth, and it occurs in its most natural form, as the result of underappreciated values on the role of purity in marriage, which is the passed along gospel of a culture that is absent of family and understanding. Humanity laughs off all foresight, calls it natural, ignores the fierce conclusion of such widespread promiscuity, conspires together to erase value and responsibility from their children, and with it, all sense of connection to life and reason, and with it, all understanding of ethics, consequences, and rewards. Careless, selfish society has destroyed the entire human race. by not caring for the simple truth of all things, the most precious resource they have, the one thing they hate most of all, because they have neglected it, poisoned it, and forsaken it. Its children, humanity, is destined for its end. They err against the whole of their creature, but the children, they have wronged the most of all. They have no understanding, no values, no wisdom, and will have nothing to give to their children. No knowledge, no understanding. Children are the legacy of the human race, the perpetual engine of man's design, to give to the universe whatsoever truth is in them, and to share with existence on a live plane, all that is sacredly alive in their heart, the virtue, the love, and gratefulness. Children are the end. Sexual confusion, humanity's inability to discern the lines of sexuality, is the fearful reality of their commitment to culture, nurture, and indoctrinate the generations of their children with sexual fantasy and absolute exploration. They can't discern the lines, because there are no lines. They saw to it that their children growing up would be more and more devout to sexual spiritualism, to sexual revolution, to sexual cause, in everything they do, think about, or associate with living. Bisexuality, homosexuality, and all gender confusion, physical or personal, has resulted from the forced manipulation of thought, will, heart, and spiritual persona. Humanity installed a throne, created false laws, instituted untrue values, and bound all associations of thought, reason, and cause to them, and it can no longer see the difference between true and false. It cannot distinguish. The heart of the people is lost in a ferocious storm of confusion, with spiritually stirred associations, and all natural sensations of yearning and wanton attraction being performed in their heart, outside the context of their intended relations, so that no mortal can experience truth, and no mortal can sense right. How does this happen? Where does the child discover their friend? At what point in human relationship do men see each other as lovers? At what moment are girls meant to cross the line of their friendship with each other? Natural love knows the lines of such invisible boundaries. Sensational mischief tantalizes the eye, taunts the flesh, stirs curiosity and desire, and works to discover the mystery of those who would give it a home. In this, it grows as any spiritual strength does. In the heartache and fight of the throne of the being, whose being is set to judge right, wrong, and the pursuit of cause, and to defend its doctrines with sound reason and understanding, preaching the gospel of its ways and its spirit. There are no accidents in the happening of sexual confusions. All is deliberate, all is purposed. The heart may find itself baffled in the moment before, but men and women cross these lines by either want, urge, or surrender, being mindful and meditative, and resolved to enter. Such cannot be helped anymore. There is no standard, no rules, no boundaries. Everything is sensual and free. Nothing is filtered, nothing is screened, nothing is judged. It is all feeling, the sensual, and the sexual, and the stirring. All seems as right or love. They can't see a difference. Feelings have become the overwhelming death of the heart. Victims fall by the millions beneath their intensity, and these intensities, that so many cannot resist, are persuasively built, managed weaponry, aimed, and purposed. Man is persuaded, cultured, trained, taught, and rewritten. His mind and heart ache. His body quivers. He's been displaced, destroyed, leveled, whether satiation, intrigue, or the great longing to be accepted and embraced. The heart of women and men has walked away from any responsibility of judgment, accountability, and wisdom. Love has lost its contending graces. It cannot see, it cannot fight, it does not know truth anymore. Love is a powerful force that will blind any, but it is love that binds us, that tells us what is right, what is trespass, what is sacred, what not to do. Confusion resists the love of truth. Sexual confusion is the end. Scandal, shame, shock, prejudice, these are the reaction of the social experience to the wound of their consciousness, done to them, through the appearance of homosexuality. It is a bold thing between them both, a bold reaction, a bold rebellion. How shall any easily address this matter? it must be realized, first, in dual, that every heart is loved of God, that men and women in every vice and sin are still yet loved by God. Judgment against the heart is not the address. Judgment against the continuum of the perpetuation is, as by it, the end is the same, the continual, infectious, moving eventuality that will end society and marriage. Few will hear this. But if the heart only knew the depths of the effect, the depths of the pain, the depths of irrevocable consequence, how powerful its secret motions, how destructive its conscious stronghold, how unmade the man and woman have become, as they have thoroughly been unmade by this spiritual entity, in such precision dissection, they could never see it for themselves and live. The shock of what is beyond the sight of man is too much to bear. Homosexuality is a powerful, conscious infusion of iniquity and sensuality. It is a spiritual spell, so vigorous and dangerous, that the mind and the heart are contrary to logic or sanity, and don't care. It is a vice. It is a strange, alien, stronghold, that God has not created. God has not made them this way, as they would preach, any more than He has made the heart of the child decide to end their life. They are loved of God, so greatly, so truly, and so deeply, but they are firmly bewitched, and so proud to be so. They are not impressed upon God with any adoration of thankfulness or pleasure, because they deny the purpose of God's design, and more, if they have knowingly denied His Christ, they cannot see the sin, not as it is, because they believe everything they feel is true. True, in the sense of being real, yes. True in the sense of being eternal and holy and godly given. No. True is a living, indestructible value, not the merits of sensation, sentimental orgasms, and relationships that encourage mutual error. Good hearts are swept away in these intoxicating feelings every day, so vividly relative to everything naturally learned, they easily replace the missing values of their true counterparts, and the ease of this affectionate acceptance warrants the church of this spirit with fantastic growth. Everything accepting and easy will have a church in the following, but it will always deny Christ. How shall they overcome so strong a persuasion? They thirst from the start to prove their rebellion, eagerly, standing bold against holy marriage, the institution of man and woman, and the natural respects of societal continuum. Their sexual and emotional philosophy proves itself upon the children, earlier and earlier, indoctrinating them into this same spirit, long before they have ceased to be a child, so that they are biting at the lip to experience it for themselves, to try the spirit of this sexual and enrapturing affection. It will collapse all lines and walls of judgment, distort all values and truth in society. Contempt for virtue is the end. The mind of man has aggressively set itself against purity, virtue, and any good thing, because they are a constant reminder to his innermost heart that he is wrong. In all avenues of thought, emotion, and life, the human race have purposed themselves against sacredness, strengthening word and philosophy against it, calling to all to hear them, to agree, to bring up the sword against it. They challenge sacredness of godly attentions, holy reverence, and due government of self, as oppressive theology, repressive enslavement of conscience, and the exhaustive omission of natural pleasure. Pleasure is a stimulation. Conscious government is a mindfulness in respect of the continuous laws of existence, of rewards earned, of consequences let loose, of obligations and duties and personal development within these fields of sight. Love is the most influential factor of all purity and government, because it accepts what is true, accepts it as beyond self, accepts it as more sure than self, and honors that truth by being consciously aware and vested in it. Virginity is the label mankind have given to something they don't care to understand. Sex is the term they give to the union of the husband and his wife, that they have long forsaken, by empowering their lifeless languages to replace the truths they don't want to honor or respect. Union, not called sex by God, is the precious state of being united into one form, into one person, into one powerful spirit, beneath God, with God, fused in the heart, experienced in all realms of plane, simultaneously, so that it is written law. These two, in God, beneath God, before God's witness, now are one. They are the family, the shared legacy of each other. Their children shall forever after be the sign and witness of their new name, sealed heart and soul, by their unique family. The sacredness of virtue is betrayed by sexual appetites that have no desire to let be what is holy in God's eyes. Men and women of perverse and twisted souls, burning with incurable sexual raves, determine themselves in all craft and mischief to remove the bounds of conscience and oath from all the world's language, to strip bare the heart of society, so that it has no standard in its heart, to make clear the path of all iniquity to follow after them. Children are ripped from virtue as soon as they become vulnerable and seen. They are hunted by every foul spirit under the heavens, by every perverse thought, by every sensual tension, so tightly wound up in them, by the working words and craft of the advertisements, predators, and intrigues of each other, by the callous and careless and endless discourses of the young and adults around them. They are trained to forsake virtue, taught to hate it, taught to get rid of it as fast as they can, that it is some evil thing to have, and they race with all effort and eagerness and panic to get rid of this singular thing. Society has vandalized virtue, turned its sacred flower into the adrenaline of sport and entertainment. They throw away the precious truth of their consecration. Virtue is the shameless seal of that most precious and becoming bond of marriage. It is a promise, set in law, in the invisible truths of reality, a precious log, that none should violate. The age of the end. Society has destroyed itself from the inside out. Society has built itself contrary to the law in the heart, and it cannot figure itself around it, because the first law of humanity is love, and they have none, and the second law of humanity is the sacredness of marriage, and they build all their own laws in complete denial of it, because nothing is sacred to them. We aren't raising men and women anymore. We're raising irresponsible, insensitive, careless, and selfish spirits that will all work toward the end of everything sacred in life and law. They will hate the child in the womb. They will hate parents. They will hate responsibility. They will hate rules and laws. They will hate everything and anything that is not given to them like a popsicle or a lollipop, because society told them they were absolutely free to do as they please. There are no consequences. Children, without border, parameter, and the ingrained understanding of what is and is not acceptable, will define these on their own, with little thought to consequence, and no regard to life or humanity or a child's rights, in birth, rearing, or love. Every child has a birthright that represents what humanity owes that child, in having taken the measures to conceive that child. Every child has the right to be loved, the right to have clothes, the right to have a home, the right to be protected, the right to eat, the right to live the life they were forced to have. In the certain respect of these rights, from the womb, parents owe their children. They owe them home, shelter, and protection. They owe them the diligence of their consideration, and determination of their affections toward making sure they have. Children are not things that happen because of sex. They are the promise of God, the precious gift the Father gave humanity, when He gave them marriage. And every being who has violated that birthright has violated the whole spectrum of divine law, from moral sacredness to the commandment to love one another. Shall the right to have a child then be the difference between who is poor and who is rich? Shall the poor have no right to love their baby? This is a misunderstanding of what is being said. What is being said is that humanity has made it an acceptable practice to have absolutely no thought toward any children that will suffer the consequences of a world that didn't love them already, before they were conceived, as this love is the love that is so special between a father and a mother, between a husband and a wife, because it is the exception to existence, a prayer-like power that exceeds time and circumstance, by the wealth of their love. But this is a lesson that humanity does not understand, because they must first love, as before they were, as outside time or space, and so selfish a creature will not exit selfishness. It is their throne, not the eternal Father's, the sacred end of everything. The heart of man has destroyed everything. The heart of man has destroyed humanity. The heart of man has destroyed home and child. The heart of man is the end of everything. Men, women, and child have lost their heart. Man does not care, and no one can make him care. Jacob worked 14 years for the girl of his dreams, and when he had her in his arms, he didn't regret a single day. He even labored with forgiveness in his heart, knowing the man who wronged him was the father of his beloved, and after he won the battle, she was his. And yet, she was a heartache. She couldn't bear his child. She, who meant everything it was to live, couldn't be the mother of his children. But he loved her so much that he would have let his line die to be hers forever. Jacob's heart bled on the battlefield. David's heart bled on the battlefield. Saul's heart bled on the battlefield. Peter's heart bled on the battlefield. Paul's heart bled on the battlefield. These men were not perfect, not by any earthly measure, but their hearts bled on the battlefield, and we just walk on by, not caring, as is our way. It's what we do, and this is the sacred end of everything, that our heart do not bleed for anything. They have neither life or truth. Everything is vain, everything is dead, and everything is a blur, gone at death, replaced by that which is ever, forever, forever.